when Freely and I were first talking about the subject of today's interview, she suggested constipation, and I said to her, Freely, I don't feel comfortable talking a whole hour about poop. But then she eventually convinced me, and I actually think it's a really important topic that we need to bring to the table. And my first question to you today is, why do you think poop is such a taboo topic in our society?
Great to be here. Thank you for having me. And look, it's taboo definitely partly because most people's poops smell so bad. Okay, they're having offensive poops. They don't want to get close to it. They don't want to know about it. They just want to forget it happened. It's just so gross. And I was one of those people myself. Yeah, for a very long time until I learned a lot more on a fruit-based diet. So yeah, I think the reason is, first and foremost, it's just so offensive.
What do you think is a healthy amount to be pooping per day? How many times should people be going?
They should definitely be going at least 2 per day. Okay, if you're going once per day, you are constipated. And I know that's going to be a shock to a lot of individuals who are pooping once a day, like most people are, but you're actually constipated. You should be ideally going after every meal, okay, like 2 to 3 times per day, really 3 times a day. That is optimal.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think so many people, even on a plant-based diet, eating a lot of plant-based foods, still experience constipation?
Because they are really neglecting fruit. Okay, they're replacing fruit with basically like tofu, beans, coarse vegetables like cauliflower and stuff like that. And as I'm sure you have noticed a lot, the protein craze is out of control, and it's even infiltrated the vegan plant-based movement. So people like vegans are eating a lot of protein, way too much complex protein. And a lot of really hard to digest food. They're scared of fruit. They're scared of sugar. They're just like, oh, fruit is sugar and sugar is bad, and I'm not going to eat it. And that is, there's a lot to go through in regards to that. That's kind of another subject. But there's a lot of bad digesting foods that people are eating, even on a plant-based diet.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what are some foods that you would recommend to someone who would really like to improve their digestion and get amazing, flawless bowel movements? What kind of foods would you recommend to them to incorporate more?
Oh, fruit. Fruit is like absolutely the best. And, I've been doing this for 20 years on a fruit-based diet, and it produces the best fruity poops, like the best poops ever. Absolutely amazing. So if you're not eating a full meal of fruit per day, you're really missing out. I mean, and that's the absolute minimum I would recommend individuals do, is like replace one of their meals with fruit.
Could you talk a little bit more about the difference between the fiber in fruits, for example, versus the fibers in vegetables or even grains? What are like some differences there?
Yeah, so you've got insoluble fiber and you have soluble fiber. So the soluble fiber is mostly more dominant in the fruits, and that's what you want. You don't want too much of the insoluble fiber. And just to bring it back to like a basic place, when fruit is developing, when it's ripening on the tree, I should say, look, insoluble fiber, it's like the skeleton of the fruit and the vegetables. It keeps the vegetable upright, basically. It fights gravity, like it helps the vegetable fight gravity by giving it this kind of structure. And the fruit, actually, as it is ripening, the fruit is just so amazing. It releases these enzymes called cellulase. Okay, so that's to pre-digest the cellulose, and also pectinase, and that's to pre-digest the pectin. And the pectin is like the glue. Okay, you got the skeleton, and the pectin is like the glue of the fruits and the vegetables, holding it together. And you can see this happening as the fruit ripens. So the fruit starts off hard, like a rock, right? When it's unripe, no one wants to eat it like that. And the plant doesn't want you to eat it like that. It's protecting its seeds until everything is ready. And you can see it actually, it softens, right? It gets softer as it gets riper and riper until it's ready. And then we have this juicy, amazing package. And that's when the cellulase and the pectinase have done a lot of work on the fruit before we actually ingest it. And that actually makes it really like easy for us to then digest the fruit. But with vegetables, they have a lot of insoluble fiber. And take broccoli, for instance, it has to stand up in the weather. It has to stay hard and rigid and strong and against gravity, like I said. So once you pick it, it's still hard. It hasn't pre-digested or anything like that because the plant doesn't want you to eat it. That's what it comes down to. The fruit wants you to eat it. Like the tree wants you to eat its fruit, but the broccoli doesn't want you to eat it. The celery doesn't want to be eaten. That's its whole life. Okay, so it doesn't make sense to the plant to then actually, break it down and make it digestible for you. So then people are actually having these hard, woody vegetables or grains as well. It's the same problem. Okay. And it's very difficult to actually break it down. So people are having too much insoluble fiber, too much cellulose. And, we're not herbivores, right? We're not herbivores. So we don't have the enzyme cellulase, the fruit produces. But when you look at, say, a cow, it has special cellulase producing enzymes. Bacteria in the gut that break down that cellulose. But we don't have that, and we don't have the ability to do that because we have a short colon. It's meant to be a fast process, but cows have got multiple chamber stomachs, so it takes days to break down. So they've got this fermentation going all the time and the gas and everything, and it's not what we want. But people are experiencing a lot of that because there's too much of this insoluble fiber coming in. The pectin is really where it's at. And when you consume fruit, in the colon, there's hardly any of this cellulose, and the structure has already been untangled. It's kind of like the complex protein versus amino acids. Fruit comes in with the amino acids already loose, so there's hardly any complex protein in there for the body to break down. And it's similar with the fiber as well. You've got this cellulose, which is really woody and it's stiff and it's keeping the, vegetable upright basically. But fruit doesn't have that in the end. We have that like broken down cellulose and not very much of it at all, which is fermented into short chain fatty acids. So that's a bit of a long explanation. Hopefully it makes a bit of sense to start with.
Yeah, totally. So basically, if I understand correctly, then our body doesn't produce the enzymes that other animals have in their bodies to digest these harder, complex, to break down foods. And we actually need something that is already pre-digested, which is amazing about fruit because it contains enzymes that already pre-digest the pectin and the cellulose, the complex.
Yeah, exactly. That is right. And no animals actually produce, the herbivores don't actually produce that enzyme and the the enzyme itself, the cellulase, but they have the ability to host the bacteria that actually produce it. So I should clarify that no herbivores are actually making that enzyme themselves either. But we can't. We cannot host that particular species.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's also why I think it's so important to eat ripe fruit when it's actually sugary and sweet and not full of starch, because I guess when it's still starchy, then it doesn't contain these enzymes that have already broken down the cellulose, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, ripe fruit has hardly any starch. It's just like, 1 gram or something for a banana. It's nothing. And it's a normal amount for us. We have amylase, so we break that down, no problem. Yeah.
And what would you say are signs that your poop is really, really healthy? Like, what do people need to look out for to inspect their poop and make sure they're like healthy?
Yep. Well, I mean, I have an acronym actually. I have an acronym called CLEAN. So it represents a good poop. First, so it's complete. So C, complete. And then L, low odor or no odor. It shouldn't smell. It shouldn't stink. And then A, so we're up to A, aren't we? A is for abundant. It can be abundant. I'm kind of playing with this a little bit, but abundant or after meals. And then N is like no wipe. or minimal wipe, okay? And that means like a complete bowel movement. Like, so you are you go to the toilet and it is completely gone in just like a minute or so. You shouldn't be hanging on the toilet forever. Right.
And what
people
was
have got their magazines and stuff, and they're staying there for like 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't even bring my phone to the toilet. It's like completely
very
unnecessary on this lifestyle.
Yeah.
I don't have time for my phone.
I know. And that's the beauty of it. Like we got shit to do, literally.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got things to do. We don't want to be sitting on the toilet waiting for this like dry, hard torpedo to pass. It's just
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel so excited about this conversation, about this topic, because I truly think it is such a hassle and such a burden and weighing people so much down to have to spend so much pressure and effort and just time on the toilet, and it being such an uncomfortable thing for people not being able to poop when you're in public because it just, I don't know, smells too much or it takes too long or is too uncomfortable. And just the freedom and the lightness. And that's also what this podcast is called. It's the Clean and Lean podcast. That's why I love you brought up clean. Because I'm all about cleanliness internally and externally, and clearing the channels and making sure you have enough space available in life to do things. Because I think you're absolutely right. We have shit to do. We need to change this world. So let's go. And then the other aspect of this podcast is being lean. And I wanted to ask you, because I don't know many women in their 40s who have such a flat belly and such a lean physique. How much do you think actually for you comes down to you just having really optimized your digestion? And how much do you think is just fat percentage? Like, what is the ratio, and why do you think a healthy belly is just so related to digestion?
Oh, yeah, definitely, because of like all the gas that can be created when you're eating certain foods. I mean, like beans, for instance, a lot of plant foods. I mean, I'm speaking specifically to vegans right now who are eating a whole lot of cooked plant matter. Okay, that can be very, very bloating. And I think I can speak from a place of authority on this because I have had a flat belly for so long. Yeah. So I know, I know what works and I know what doesn't work. And I can easily get a big, bloated, gassy belly myself if I eat incorrectly. That's easy to do. But it definitely plays a big role in what women, especially, are carrying around, like the shape of their belly and how they feel in their gut. And the fact that they can't get a flat belly, like optimal food combining, that's really, really important. And not eating a lot of protein, because you've got these proteolytic bacteria that are in the colon that break down like this excess complex protein and amino acids that like escape the small intestine. It's meant to stop there in the small intestine, but people are having so much protein, it's like leaking into their colon every single day. Like a bunch of protein is leaking into their colon where it shouldn't be, and then these proteolytic or just the normal bacteria become like protein loving because they actually get starved of carbohydrates, so they just end up going for the protein. They're like, well, there's food here, I have to try and break it down, and then they create ammonia, and they create this cadaverine, like horrible gases, hydrogen sulfide. They're creating this stink, this real stink and this real bloating. And forget it. If you want a flat belly, no way. I mean, even having rice, okay. And I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "What? Why she's hating on rice? What's going on?" Like, I'm not hating on rice. I think it has its place for some people, but if you want to optimize your frequency, your digestive speed, which is what we want to do. We want to be quicker. We don't want to slow it down like everybody's doing. If you want to optimize that, then rice is not your friend, okay? Because it's even commonly or traditionally recommended by doctors as an anti-diarrhea diet because it slows digestion that much. Okay, so because it has hardly any fiber. And the fiber it does have, it just ends up being this like cellulose. And it's not optimal. So body fat percentage, it's more to do, well, look, some people have higher body fat too, because a lot of plant-based diets are full of fat too, full of fat as well. So it's an individual thing. I can't really comment what, in general. I think it's definitely both.
Yeah. But would you say that if you improve your digestion and your gut transit time, you make sure it's as low as possible by incorporating more easy to digest foods like fruits, that it can get you a flatter belly, even if your body fat percentage is maybe a little bit higher.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the first things I feel like that my clients experience is that the freedom of having, like, because look, you have more bowel movements. So you have less waste sitting in you and fermenting. Okay, that fermentation in the colon, we're not meant to have like days of fermentation. Like a lot of plant-based diets are causing people to have all this fermentation, like too much. So yes, women can get results quickly and just mentally feel good, mentally feel
Yeah.
so much better getting that old waste out as well.
Yeah, and also I think you start, or from my experience, you start feeling lighter physically because you don't have the poop that you carry around. It's
Yeah.
not the fat that we actually want to get rid of. It's all that we're getting out just by improving our digestion. So what would you say are some overall health risks even that people might experience if they have not the best and quickest gut transit time? What are some disease risks? How does it affect the energy level?
Yeah,
Also positively when the gut transit time is like really fast.
I think like one big thing is brain fog. A lot of individuals have because they're basically reabsorbing a lot of toxins through the colon, because it's sitting in there so long and you've got this putrefaction, which is basically rotting. It doesn't matter if it's plant-based. I mean, obviously meat is worse, but plant-based can, I think a lot of people know it can produce a real big stink. And there's definitely putrefaction going on there. So it's definitely a contributor to brain fog. And also not just being sharp mentally, but from brain fog to as far as like colon cancer. And I'm not saying that vegans are getting colon cancer. I'm not sure what the statistics on that are, but if you basically poison your colon cells enough with this putrefaction, then you can develop colon cancer. I mean, colon cancer is one of the leading causes of death for humans in the world. So it's something that people really, really need to consider. What else? Just energy zaps your energy, because when you slow down your digestive pace, your body is really, really having to work hard to try and catch up and trying to bring that speed back, because we're a fast digesting species. We're meant to digest food quickly. It's meant to leave the stomach within 1 or 2 hours. But people are having these complex meals. I mean, even these Buddha bowls or whatever, with a whole lot of protein, a whole lot of fat as well, a lot of fat and oil. I mean, Instagram is like a nightmare when it comes to food combinations. And so that is really, really important, not to have the food sitting in the stomach for like 4 or 5 hours. Then it spends another 4 or 5 hours in the small intestine, and then it spends another like 12 hours in the colon. This is very energy draining. This is taking your energy, a whole lot of enzymes, a whole lot of like processes that you don't want to actually bother initiating, but they are required when you eat that way.
All right, so we got the brain fog, colon cancer risk, and just less energy.
Oh,
What do you
more.
say to people? Yeah, there's more, but those are the main ones, right? What do you say to people from the carnivore crowd who are claiming, once a week is fine?
They're poisoning themselves, honestly. If they really, I mean, so let's define what the carnivore diet is. It's eating only meat. It's meant to be only meat and eggs, I think, like meat, fish, eggs. Meat and fish, same thing, but so let's just say they are eating this way, which I don't believe they are. Okay, maybe they do it for a day or two, but then they just binge out on carbs. It's the usual story, or else they're going to end up dying. And then they actually, they're constipating themselves. And if they have that rotting flesh in their gut for like 5 days, this is some major toxicity. Like the liver and kidneys and the colon cells are getting poisoned. You're reabsorbing that toxic, just all the toxins back into the bloodstream, and it's very, very dangerous, and it's ridiculous. Like no one would consider that as an optimal optimal digestion, not even in the mainstream scientific community, you know.
Why do you think they claim that's normal to go once a week?
Marketing. It's just marketing. It's all a lie. The whole diet is a lie. Yeah, I mean, like people need to wake up to this. They are blatantly lying. And there's people even saying, oh, you build muscle in the carnivore diet, and then you know they're on Instagram, they got their page, they look all muscly, and people are like, see, these guys are succeeding, they're so muscly, this carnivore diet's working. It's a lie. It's an absolute lie. These people are binging out, they're not telling you. And the reason I can verify that they cannot build muscle, for instance, is because building muscle takes carbohydrates. Muscle is actually built by carbohydrates. Okay, you need some amino acids, not much at all, and then you actually build it via your carbohydrate intake. Because if you don't have enough carbs, you can't actually push to failure in order to actually cause the muscle to grow, hypertrophy. You know, if you don't have the carbs, you can't actually push your muscle far enough to actually grow it. So if they're trying to say they're eating no carbs, okay, so no energy, and they're pushing their body for months, which it takes months to grow muscle tissue, it's impossible. It's actually impossible. Yeah, it's just people need to be very smart. There's a sucker born every minute, okay? And the carnivore diet is just pure lies and marketing, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we got that out of the way. Once a week is definitely not a recommendable
Constipated
amount.
very constipated.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but let's say someone is maybe going a few times a week, but still not at the level where they would like to be, and just not feeling that lightness, that free feeling in their body where everything is just clean and cleared up and they have a flat belly. What advice would you give to them to improve their digestion, to improve their bowel movements? Like, what is your number one tip? You already mentioned eating more fruit and replacing at least one meal with just fruit. What else would you say is something that people can do to help themselves?
Well, I mean, if you want to go all the way, then eat fruit all day. Eat fruit all day for 30 days. Okay, just jump right in and give it a go. That's one thing you can try. Also, squatting. Okay, you and I are a fan of squatting, right? Like squatting is it's great. I mean, because when you're sitting on the toilet, this is very unnatural, and it's kinking your bowel. You know, the bowel is kinked, so you're not actually getting that free flow of the poop. When you're squatting, it's all open. It's in the position it's meant to be, and that's how I poop, you know, several times a day. And so definitely do that. Moving your body, hydrating, making sure you're hydrated. That's another thing about grains and vegetables. They actually take from, I mean, look, I know I eat them. I I promote them. I don't want anyone to think I'm hating on them, but I still want you to know the truth, right? I want you to know the truth so you can make the best decisions for yourself. When it comes to grains and the vegetables, they suck water out of your body to process them. When you have fruit, it adds water. Okay, it hydrates you as you eat it. This is a very important thing, okay? So when it's in the colon, you don't want a food, you don't want a fiber, you don't want anything in there that is actually sucking the water out of you to process it. This is not good at all. So yeah, I would say to that person, definitely eat more fruit, even more fruit. Okay, if you really want to get the best results, you just have to hammer that fruit in. And there's a lot of people in the raw food movement and stuff, and like, oh, Freely recommends too much fruit, and oh my gosh, unfortunately, they don't understand how our species actually works, you know, and how we are primates, and we do require a lot of fruit. And primates, for example, okay, that are very close to us, the ones that are very, very close digestively, they're pooping sometimes over 6 times a day. 6 times.
That is a lot.
Yeah. So then when you think about 1 time a day, it's not enough, folks. It is not enough. I'm telling you right now, you're constipated. Don't hate on me. You can hate on me if you want, but, you know, I'm still going to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm taking notes here, and 6 times I did not know that. That's good information to be knowing and spreading. Okay, so we got the primates. They go 6 times a day. We have the herbivores who have the ability to break down complex cellulose. So basically what you are saying is that ideally we wouldn't need vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
What about leafy greens? Do you think that is something that is easier for the body to break down? Because from what I know, they have way less complex cellulose, right?
Yeah, well, leafy greens is an interesting one because I think young, tender leafy greens, yeah, you're definitely getting less of the cellulose. Okay. Uh, and they're the ones that feel better for us. I think most people enjoy like tender leaves, right? Rather than kale, for instance. I mean, this whole kale movement is ridiculous. I mean, it's definitely not a vegetable that we should be having. So yes, I would agree that some leafy greens, I don't think there's any problem with them, and some nuts and seeds. A few nuts and seeds, but they have that complex, that structure, that cellulose. They're actually high in that cellulose, and they also high in fat, and they're also high in complex protein. So it just again comes back to the plant not wanting you to eat its seeds, right? It wants its babies to grow. It wants you to spread the seeds and not eat the seed. So we get punished. We have these like plant pesticides that the plant naturally injects into the seed to deter the pests like us, the human pests. And that also affects like mineral absorption. That also the amount of fat slows digestion down a lot. The frequency of your bowel movements drops a lot when you're having like high fat, when you're having a lot of nuts. In the raw food movement, I'm sure you've seen it a lot. There's some people who are really loading up on the gourmet raw, has a lot of fat, even adding oil, and it stays in the stomach too long. It's staying in these stages too long. Stomach, small intestine, colon. This should only be like 12 hours or so.
Yeah, like a couple days ago, I think I had 50 grams of Brazil nuts. They're so good, right?
Yeah.
But I can feel it immediately, and like my digestion is no longer as smooth
Mm-hmm.
as when I don't have it. So, do you consume nuts, and what are your thoughts? Do you think we even need them, or is it more just for a little pleasure here and there to just spice things up a little bit?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Do we need it? I don't believe we do. I do not believe we need any seeds. Okay. And I like to have them myself. I think if I'm doing a bit of a raw stint, I do like having a few seeds at night. It kind of gets my mind a bit off the complex carbs, right? Like the rice and the
Yeah.
pasta. Or, it does, even though it's not a replacement. I don't want to make out it's a replacement because it's not a good source of carbohydrates, but it's a bit heavier, right? It's a bit heavier, like the complex carb feeling. So I don't mind having a few, but that would be a very small amount. And I think it's better to avoid them in general. But having a handful, I mean, like a small palmful, like every couple of nights, I don't see that as a big deal, really. But avocado would be a better choice.
Because it's higher in water, and it also has these enzymes that have already pre-digested
Yes.
the cellulose.
Yeah, it's important. And I mean, I think it's really beautiful, like just how fruit prepares, like, or the tree prepares the fruit for us. It's such a beautiful symbiotic relationship. And I think that's a big part of why I even continue to follow the diet, even because it's just, I know it's right. It feels so right. And it feels really beautiful. And like, I like the truth. I'm a truth seeker and I want to live the truth. And just knowing fruit is prepared for us so perfectly is just, it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's you connect with the creator, with the earth on a much deeper level when you eat the fruit. And it gives me hope every day for this world, because when I eat the fruit, I don't really think about anything other than just how good the fruit is.
Yeah.
And I mean, isn't that what life is all about? Just enjoying the experience. And I mean, I like cooked food and the excitement it gives you, but I don't get this kind of experience with cooked food ever. Maybe in the first 2 or 3 bites, but then it just dulls down and gets more boring. Whereas with the fruit, every bite
Mm-hmm.
it just becomes more flavorful and enhanced, and you connect even more deeply with Earth, really, because it created it for us.
I
So
agree. Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm not like a particularly spiritual person, I wouldn't say, or anything like that, but I do feel that too really strongly. And I think that's a testament to the power of fruit, because I'm not even like this spiritual person. You know what I mean? But I believe we all are in some way. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. All right. So we got squatting, we got more fruit. What is one more thing that you would like to leave people with in terms of helping them improve their digestion, lightening the load, and just making everything a lot more easy and flowy? What are other things other than just those two?
What are other things? Like lifestyle things, you mean?
Yeah, anything that comes to mind that you feel like,
Walking
could
is
really.
good. Yeah, I mean, getting a minimum of 10,000 steps per day. I have a step counter that I wear every single day to make sure. Yeah, getting steps, very important. Also, strength training is great. That it's important to build that muscle, especially as you get older, because you start losing it. Strengthening the body, very important. And yeah, I think those factors are really, yeah, key. A lot, but the food is, I'm telling you, the food is so much more important.
Cool. All right. So we covered a lot right now, Freely. I'm really enjoying this conversation so far. I did not expect it to go this smoothly. And I want to ask you, what would you say is like one of the biggest factors that improves your overall gut health in general and your microbiome? Because that's a very heavily debated topic right now. People are
Mm.
saying you should have more sauerkraut and fermented foods. And what do you think is the biggest factor to really get things flowing down there?
Well, firstly, you have to feed them. Okay. So first and foremost, you have to think, what is the food they actually want? And they want carbs. Okay. They want sugar. They want the carbohydrates in general. Okay. That is what your gut microbiome runs on. Okay. So if you're going to feed them protein, like protein rich diets, fat rich diets, you're going to be starving them. All right. And when you starve your microbiome, they can end up eating you from the inside. They literally will eat your colon. Okay. And that's not, obviously, that's not how you want to feed them. You want to keep your body to yourself, and you want them to eat the actual food and ferment, what they need to in the gut. So fruit. Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but of course I am, because we're frugivores, right? Like the answer is fruit, because we are a fruit-based animal. So we can't go too far away from that. Okay, if we start moving too far away from a fruit-based diet, then our microbiome family is going to suffer. We're going to have issues like gut-brain issues because of that. I mean, there's a lot of mental health issues getting around. There's a lot of people who are very unstable. Like I said before about colon cancer. I mean, that's a real risk. It's one of the leading causes of death. So people need to get that soluble fiber, that gelling effect. That you need to have that, like that firming, that soft firming, right? You don't want balls of cellulose in the colon slowing things down, and then you end up having this putrefaction because proteins and the fats come in, and then it just becomes a real stinky mess because your transit time has been slowed down so much. So it's very important to keep that transit time quick, in line with your species, okay, in line with primates like we are. So that's very important to your microbiome health. And don't poison the little buggers down there. Don't poison them with too much fat and too much protein. They don't want to eat it, okay? Don't force them to eat stuff that they're not meant to be eating. And I mean, they're you as well. You don't want to see them as something separate. They are you. They're your little family, right? And they run on carbs. They want carbs, so don't starve them.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So basically, if I understand correctly, then if we don't feed our microbiome or our microgut bacteria with the right foods, they will start eating us,
You.
our
Yeah.
colon.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
pretty crazy when you think about it. So they don't like the protein-rich foods, the fats. What they really want is just simple carbohydrates coming from fruits.
That's right. We're not carnivores. We're not meat-based animals. So we have a totally different setup.
Mm-hmm. All right. And One last question that I ask everyone on this podcast: if you could travel back to your younger self that still had gut problems and was struggling with all these issues that we just covered in this hour together, what would you tell her if you could like travel back, you could meet her, and you could give her 3 pieces of advice?
3 pieces. Fruit. No, that's a bit dramatic, but yeah, I'm just traveling back to that individual because honestly, I was actually in a really dark place. I've spoken about it before. I won't say too much because the YouTube algorithm might destroy the video. But I was in a very dark place, and because of my gut health, okay, it was so bad, and I think that's why I've kind of committed myself to becoming an expert on gut health as well, because it's just been such a huge source of trauma in my past. And yeah, so I know there's a lot of people suffering out there from irritable bowel syndrome and colitis and Crohn's and stuff like that. So I feel you on that, because I was in that same boat, and you can get out of it. Okay, you can. And what I'd say to my younger self would be, what are you doing eating a whole chicken a day? Please stop and replace that chicken a day. I literally was eating a chicken a day with fruit. Change your breakfast at least to a smoothie. Just do that. Okay. And don't get your education from just like the media or magazines, back then before the internet and stuff, basically, because I'm pretty old now. I'm like 46 soon. We didn't really have back then there wasn't like Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. But now there is. So I tell myself, don't look at the magazines, trust yourself, trust fruit, trust nature. And the third thing, I think is that 2 things, would be just to be like, I think the whole trusting thing is what I would like to leave it with, is just to trust nature. Don't trust people who are trying to make money off you and who are just basically exploiting you for money. Because see, I was seeing a lot of individuals, I was seeing a gastroenterologist, I was seeing like a Indian Ayurvedic doctor, I was seeing a Chinese medicine doctor, I was seeing a naturopath. Okay, so at the time, they couldn't help me. None of them could help me. Actually, they made my symptoms worse. So I would say to the younger self, trust nature and don't trust these professionals with your health responsibility. And you can do it. You can do it. Soon you are going to have the most amazing poops ever.
I love that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for the interview. It was such a pleasure and such a treat to talk with you about this freely. I'm just so grateful we're bringing this truth to the world together, and we're changing the way the world is eating, person by person, step by step. And yeah,
one banana at a time.
One banana at a time.
Thank you so much for inviting me too. Yeah, it's always lovely to talk to you and spread the truth together.
Yeah, and I hope everyone watching, you enjoyed this interview. Have a great day, and maybe see you in another video.
Sounds good. Bye. Go fruit yourself.